Super Dave here with another review. Super Dave here with another exciting review, and today we're going to be taking a look at King Grayskull, one of my favorite Masters of the Universe characters because of his backstory, and of course Castle Grayskull was named after him. So how cool is that? And so we're going to take a look at King Grayskull. I know this is an oldie but a goodie, one of the original very first action figures of the Masters of the Universe Classics. Not in this packaging, but the cool looking castle that had the lightning sound effect, and he would roar by the power of Grayskull, and then the lighting that was in that cool display that was a PowerCon exclusive, and then later they re-released him, and that's what we have here. It says the original there, and it's a part of the Grayskull line, and it had the flocked cape, shoulder pad part of the cape. And so he also came with the round blue orb for the Castle Grayskull, which is where King Grayskull at his dying breath passed his essence into the sword of He so that it would be able to be passed down. He was such a virtuous, wise, strong, moral, and great leader and warrior that he just he passed his essence on, and of course that's also what unlocked originally the powers of Grayskull, the castle. He had it built. His council, along with him and Titus the giant and others, built that castle before it was actually green and moldy and old. It was a white castle. You can look at the Mike Young 2000 and X, as we call it, edition of this storyline to kind of check that out. And also the back of his, of course, his bio card and the other selling points there. But that's about it. Let's break this guy open and check out King Grayskull. King Grayskull actually had a council of elders that served with him back in the early years, about 5,000 years before Prince Adam. And here are a few of the characters from the mythic legions that I have made up to go along on that council, besides the one that we already know, the ones that we already know, which Eldor was on that council. There's a knight, I have him on there. There's Granger, his giant lion. There's another character that I put on there as a ninja type fighter, warrior. But also we have Mossman. He was actually on that council. So was Nicholas Powers back there, which I put that face on him to go along with that, because he's still at this point in the timeline protecting the Havoc Staff and the mythical Ramstone for King Grayskull. And then one of King Grayskull's best friends, Sir Laserlot, and also one of King Grayskull's best friends before he turns evil was Lord Adai, who was also on his council, and they didn't make an action figure of him, so I took a blue-skinned Mythic Legion, elfish-looking figure and put a beard on him and made him Lord Adai. So there you have him. All right, and so now let's look at the king himself, King Grayskull. That's him in his beautiful, really neat-looking 2000X Mike Young-inspired gauntlet on his chest. He's got the longer loincloth. He's got the flock shoulder pad with the cape. Oh yeah, and I also forgot to mention there's Vina, who is his wife, up there on top of Castle Grayskull. But taking a look though at our figure at hand here, he's got similar boots to He-Man. Let's go ahead and give him a spin as well here just to take a look at him full circle. You see he's got the silver gauntlets and the silver belt versus the what He-Man had. He had the orange gauntlets and the orange belt. You see that tethered, kind of a tethered looking cape, but then you have that white flocked shoulder pad fur. But same buck as He-Man, but he looks massive. He's got the braids, the longer hair, really cool looking, just a really nice looking action figure. He comes with the Orb of Power. Now that particular stand does not come with him, unfortunately. That's actually part of the Temple of Darkness Sorceress, Masters of the Universe Classics, and there's a picture of her there. That comes packaged with her. He also comes with a shield. He comes with twin blades, but they're both half swords because he did put his essence in the sword, and the sword was of course later split in half and hid in two different destinations. But he also comes with this, and that's where the power of the Castle Grayskull or Grayskull powers, because he was so virtuous, such a wise and courageous warrior and moral warrior, that his essence at his death was captured in this sword, and then it was passed to this orb. And that's to signify the powers being passed from the sword to the orb, and then the orb was hidden in Castle Grayskull for safekeeping, and that is where the sword gets its power. When He-Man holds that sword up and says, "By the power of Grayskull," technically speaking, the power from this orb comes to wherever he is and charges that sword and gives He-Man the powers of He, or Grayskull. And so that is the part of the storyline, and that may not be an exact representation, but that's close enough summary to get you going in the right direction. Let's take a closer look at King Grayskull. Even before King Grayskull became King Grayskull, he was Divine Grayskull, part of Preternia, and he fought and protected Preternia as one of the great warrior fighters against King Hiss and the Hiss Men. Now this is before he became king, because he was so wise and so courageous and fought so many battles victoriously. The people almost demanded that Divine Grayskull become king. Now, like I said earlier, when King Grayskull died, his essence was passed to the sword, then from the sword eventually to the orb, and then hidden in Castle Grayskull, the orb. But similar to Star Wars, in the castle, you remember in Star Wars, you had Ben Kenobi, of course Yoda, even Anakin make appearances in almost a ghost form from the dead to speak to other Jedi from the Force. And similar to that, the spirit of Grayskull could manifest in the castle. And so they also made a Spirit of Grayskull action figure, as you see packaged back there. And he comes with the translucent type, greenish ghost looking, spiritish sword, the shield, and the battle axe. Very interesting. So he could actually appear to He-Man and to the Sorceress and to different ones that would visit Grayskull in this ghost form to pass on some of that wisdom and courage to visitors of the castle. So that's really cool, and part of the story as well as we move along to articulation. Now this particular Grayskull does not have very good articulation because simply his hair gets in the way. So as you look, you cannot really go back. You can go down just a little bit, and then you can not go really side to side more than that right there because of the flocked shoulder pads. Now you do have the ability to crunch forward, but you're not going to really be able to crunch back because of the cape. It's a very rigid cape. He does have the ability to go about that far, but he's also hindered because of those flocked big shoulder pads. He does have bicep swivel, single jointed elbows, just swivel at the wrist, which everything's very tight on this character. He does have the ability, of course, to twist at the waist. He does have those good legs that can split all the way. He does have the ability to swivel at the thigh, single jointed knees. He does have, so he has boot cut, and then he does have the ability to go up that far tiptoes just about there, and then he does have rockers there, and they're very loose. Does have a peg at the bottom. So there is his articulation. So the upper body is fairly limited because of this cape, because of this these braids, and just the way it hits back here. And this can be removed. It's kind of attached with some pegs, but I'll show you here. You see the pegs back there, and you see the flocking. That's not dust, that's actually flocked. And so you do have these pegs that peg into this part of the harness. If you do want to display him, you don't really see those pegs, so it actually looks pretty decent. And one of the things that I've done, and this is because I was able to get a hold of a second one. That's one of the reasons I did this review, since I actually had him in the package. But you can also, I purchased a Jerry the King Lawler crown on eBay, and you can take King Randor's body and the second edition, not the one that looks like Burger King, but the one that has the orange pants and the red shirt, and you can put King Grayskull's his chest armor on that body, and then of course pop King Grayskull's body head on that body, and the flocked cape, and the Jerry the King Lawler crown, and there you have a King Grayskull in a dress fatigue, a dressy outfit. And that's what I use in my stories. So you have Warrior King Grayskull, and then you have King Grayskull. If you take his chest plate off, you could even have, you know, King Grayskull or Devon Grayskull before he actually became king, or even a warrior. And of course, Granger back there comes with the saddle and the small little part that goes on his face, and he can ride Granger into battle, and we'll see that here in a little bit. But there is our King Grayskull, our spirit King Grayskull, spirit of King Grayskull, and King Grayskull in his dress fatigues with the Jerry the King Lawler crown there. So you see Lord Adai, the Knight Sir Laserlot, Moss Man, and I'm using Ryu as one of King Grayskull's councilmen, as well as that Marvel Legends looking knight back there, as well as a couple of other Mythic Legion characters to be a part of King Grayskull's council. But they just seem to fit in great with this time period, and I just love the story of King Grayskull. And if you want to listen to a little bit more of the story, I'll read it to you very quickly here for those of you that would like to know, and those that will not, you want to skip on to the photos, you can. Born Devon Grayskull, he grew up on Preternia under the tyranny of King Hiss until the Snake Men captured and devoured his brother. Seeking justice, Devon became a rebel leader, and his bravery attracted support from all over Preternia. The Green Tiger tribe, in thanks for Devon's defense of their home from the Gar pirates, gave him a liger cub who grew into his fierce riding mount, Battle Lion. In time, Devon Grayskull was named king for his wisdom, courage, strength, and compassion. His wife, Vina, ruled over a vast nation with him, advised by his council of elders. During the Great Wars, King Grayskull befriended the cosmic warrior Hero, who wielded the Sword of He. When Hordak invaded Preternia in search of Hero, King Grayskull fought a war on two fronts against the Horde and the Snake Men until the armies declared a truce and built the three towers. For a short time there was peace, but the Horde betrayed the others and reignited the war. King Grayskull and his masters of the universe fought the Horde and the Snake Men in the first ultimate battleground, during which Hero sacrificed himself to save King Grayskull and gave him the Sword of He, judging him worthy of the power. Sometime later, King Grayskull banished the Horde to Despondos, but Hordak inflicted dark magic and eventually killed King Grayskull. Before he died, King Grayskull passed his power into the sword of He, so that only his descendants could wield his full power by calling on his name. And that's how we came to have the powers of Grayskull, and as we were explaining earlier, passing that power to the orb. Now, also, Vina was a protector of Grayskull even after King Grayskull died. And so Vina was kind of one of the first, not sure exactly the backstory there, sorceresses and protectors and defenders of the secrets of Grayskull in the castle. But thank you for checking us out. Please like, share, comment, and we'll see you next time on Super Dave's Reviews. Here's a classic, but a great one. Some King Grayskull love going on here, and here's some images, some photos. See you next time.